Squid Game has officially become Netflix's most-watched show. The South Korean drama hit 111 million views in less than a month after its premiere, and people from all over the world are glued to their screens. The visuals are stunning, the acting is great, and the plot is fascinating. Squid Game's massive success is a clear example of Netflix's ability to craft a global hit. The streaming platform has over 200 million subscribers and has worked hard to reach audiences on a worldwide scale. But even though it seems like Squid Game was an instant success, a look behind the scenes shows how its creator had to endure a long journey full of obstacles and difficulties. Before his now famous series finally got to see the light of day, Hwang Dong-hyuk received rejection after rejection. Squid Game was inspired by his own personal experiences and financial struggles, and at one point he even had to stop writing the script because he had to sell his laptop to make ends meet. This is his story. Squid Game is a dystopian drama in which desperate, debt-ridden contestants play deadly children's games to win cash prizes. It revolves around a group of people from all walks of life who can sign up for a series of simple but lethal games in the hopes of winning a 45.6 billion won cash prize. Converted into dollars, that's nearly $39 million. Since its launch, the cast members of the series have all risen in popularity, and so have the games. But what about its creator? Hwang Dong-hyuk is currently 50 years old and easily one of Korea's most sought-after directors, but it wasn't always like this. Hwang was born in 1971 in South Korea. After getting a master's degree in journalism, he went to study film production at the University of Southern California. Over the years, he directed several films, but nothing could have prepared him for Squid Game's insane roller coaster ride. Hwang came up with Squid Game's plot in 2008. He had always been a big Japanese and Korean comics and animation lover, and over time he racked up a good amount of hours watching and reading them. This instilled in him some great inspiration. At the time, Hwang was in dire financial straits, and to forget his sorrows, he spent countless hours in cafes reading such comics as Battle Royale and Liar Game. Battle Royale is a famous horror satire that basically started the trend of casts fighting each other to the death in high-stakes gaming arenas. And eventually, Hwang came to wonder how he'd feel if he took part in the games himself. However, he found them too complex, and he wanted to simplify it all. For his own work, he focused on using kids' games instead. And to give it a true Korean feel, he went for classic Korean childhood games. The twist? Those who lose the games end up dying. How fun! Hwang wanted his series to reflect the competitive society we live in today. For him, it was about those who struggle through everyday life and get left behind, while the winners keep leveling up. "This is a story about losers," he once said. "I wanted to write a story that was an allegory or fable about our modern capitalist society, something that depicts the extreme competition of life, but I wanted it to use the kind of characters we've all met in real life." Hwang was excited, and he was getting ready to flesh out his marvelous ideas. But just when he was already visualizing his many characters, he had to put his dreams on hold. At the time, Hwang was living with his mother and grandmother. He was majorly in debt. And at one point, money became so short that he was forced to sell his laptop for $675 to make ends meet. This obviously also meant that the writing would temporarily have to wait too. Here you can already begin to see that Squid Game was a very personal story for Hwang. In fact, the two main characters, Song Gi-hun and Cho Sang-woo, are named after his old friends, and Hwang calls them his inner clones. They represent the two sides of me. Like Gi-hun, I was raised by a single mother in a financially troubled environment, Hwang explained. At the same time, like Sang-woo, I went to Seoul National University, and my entire neighborhood praised me and had high expectations of me. As you can guess, the writing process wasn't easy, and Hwang once admitted that, in his earlier days, he'd drink half a bottle of soju just to get the creative juices flowing. Because of the financial issues he was facing, writing the script was much harder than usual. And doing all of the thinking and writing on his own was, of course, also exhausting. But as a self-proclaimed bad team worker, this was the only way to go. 1 year later, he already had his first draft ready. But would Hwang's solitary methods and unusual ideas end up serving him well? Squid Game is all about socioeconomic divides, the exploitation of the poor by the rich, and the desperation of Korea's struggling laid-off workers. The series is very allegorical, and it uses its themes and characters to shine a light on the impact of capitalism on modern society. Add to that an interesting plot that mingles satire and melodrama, and you have a recipe for a hit. Or so it seemed. Unfortunately for Hwang, however, it wouldn't turn out to be that easy. When he presented his first draft to production companies, he was rejected over and over again, not only by the studios but also by the actors. Each time, they gave him the same critiques. It was too peculiar, too brutal, and too unrealistic. There were a lot of people who told me that Squid Game was too weird and too unrealistic. I continuously got rejected from investors and actors, Hwang explained. Not a single soul was interested in taking up his project, so he put the script aside. And over the next 10 years, he successfully completed 3 other films. But Squid Game always remained in the back of his mind. When Hwang first finished writing Squid Game in 2009, potential investors and actors hated the brutal killings, and they mocked the implausibility of people competing to the death for money. Flash forward 10 years later, and it became very obvious that Squid Game's class struggles actually spoke to reality. Netflix noticed it too, and took an interest in Hwang's project. And that same year, his project was given the green light. After over a decade of continuous rejections, the time had finally come for Hwang to make his dreams come true. The reason for this is rather somber though. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit the global economy, it only further exacerbated the wealth disparity gap. The richer became richer, and the poorer became poorer. You can even see it in the vaccine rollouts, which vary greatly based on whether a country is wealthy or not. In addition, the idea of succeeding with fast money has also become even more idealized. Suddenly, Squid Game's plot didn't seem so implausible anymore. After about 12 years, the world changed into a place where such violent survival stories are actually welcomed, Hwang explained. People commented on how the series is irrelevant to real life. Sadly, the world has changed in that direction. The games that participants go crazy over align with people's desires to hit the jackpot with things like cryptocurrency, real estate, and stocks. So many people have been able to empathize with the story. So after many years, Hwang got none other than Netflix to bring his project to life. You would think things finally began to look a little rosier for him, right? But you'd be wrong. Producing the show was an intense experience, and the entire time, Hwang felt like he was under immense pressure. He knew that his series was a gamble. It would either be a massive hit or a giant miss. And after having created and written everything on his own, he was now directing it on his own too. The stress was real. Each night before filming, I would always think about ways to make the scenes better and revise the scripts. The level of stress that I was under was a full 100%, which hit me hard. This piece had a much higher risk, so I put all my effort into making it a good one. And making it a good one, he did. Today, Squid Game is an obvious mega hit by any measure. About 95% of its viewers are based outside South Korea, and after having been released on the 17th of September, the show quickly became #1 on Netflix's top 10 lists all around the world. Netflix estimates that Squid Game will create almost $900 million in value, and like many top streaming series, it has become a pop culture phenomenon. From memes and TikTok videos to sold-out Halloween costumes and merchandise, Squid Game is everywhere. And the show's cast members are doing well too. Model and actress Jung Ho-young, for example, was recently appointed one of Louis Vuitton's new global ambassadors. Jung is now the most followed Korean actress on Instagram. And since the show's release, her follower count has grown from 410,000 to over 20 million. Now that must be overwhelming, especially seeing that this was her very first acting role. While Hwang was surprised by the massive success, he believes that simplicity and easily relatable characters are two things that have helped Squid Game succeed in becoming a global mega hit. Before the series was launched, it went through some touch-ups. Due to the language barrier, Netflix went all in on visuals by dressing competitors in green tracksuits and building colorful sets. And some of the rules for the traditional Korean games were also simplified or altered. But what truly made the series stand out, though, is the simplicity of the games and the subplots of the characters. Those two elements are what make it different from similar series or films, like Battle Royale and The Hunger Games. Squid Game contains survival games, but it's really all about people. The characters, their troubles, and their humanity make global audiences resonate with the series. And while other similar shows follow one hero solving difficult puzzles to become a winner, Squid Game is a story of losers. There are no winners or geniuses, but rather a person who takes each step forward with the help of others. Hwang is naturally very happy with the success, but he sees it as both a blessing and a curse. It's the acknowledgement of a lifetime, yet it is also a label that will follow me around. From now on, anything I do will be compared to Squid Game, which to me is both a burden and an honor. This was the story of Squid Game. While the series is a global mega hit today, its creator, Hwang Dong-hyuk, had to overcome multiple rejections and difficulties before his passion project even got to see the light of day. Whether a second season will come remains to be awaited, but one thing is certain: Hwang can rest assured that he created a true masterpiece that only few will be able to topple. And we can count ourselves lucky that he never gave up on his dreams. Did you know of the many obstacles that Hwang had to overcome? And have you already watched the series? Share it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to check out our channel for more inspiring business stories.